Hello, welcome to the Venture Property Lincoln.co.uk blog. As you know, last week, if you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, we were pretty vocal about a deal that we've pulled, and a few people were asking a little bit of information about it. So I decided to put it all together in a blog post so that I can basically give you that information, and hopefully we'll be able to sort of go into a bit more detail about the deal and stuff. So what I'm going to cover in this blog post is how I found the deal, how I appraised the deal, the challenges in which I faced, how it's been funded, and then the next steps for you guys, so that you will know exactly what's happening on this deal. And hopefully if you're interested in investing with us, then you can sort of see the processes and how we work. If you're not interested in investing with us, no worries, that's not a problem. Hopefully you'll learn something from the blog post, or if you're just interested in property and you were here to check that out, hopefully we're going to interest you. So just to give you some sort of top 10,000 foot view of the project before I go into a bit more detail, it's a new build development. It's based in a village just outside of Lincoln, Sturton by Stow. It is for 10 houses that have outline planning. It came through an agent. The GDV is 3.4 million. The purchase price is 500,000. All costs, builds and legals and everything included in that is 1.85, which brings us on a total cost of 2.35 million, a profit of just over a million, which is a 30% profit. We normally aim for a minimum of 25% profit. Most of our deals are 30% profit plus. If we are holding on to them, then we are looking on a rent roll basis of probably around a 17% net yield, usually on our deals. That's just if you're interested in our other deals, but we're here to talk about Sturton. So here is a picture of the plot that we have purchased. The three at the front have already been developed by another developer. We was purchasing the land behind. So it does have outline planning, but it's quite detailed planning for outline. This is the plan in which they would love to see. Well, you've got to keep this one. So the road has already been agreed, and the look of the houses in terms of what they want there. So they want 4 semi-detached, 4 detached, and 2 bigger detached at the bottom with a turning space. So it's quite good for us because quite a lot of the things that would be agreed and we would have to go through planning with have already been spoken about, have already been agreed. So we know that we need to stick to that, and we know we need to keep to that, which is really good and makes it quite a exciting and a bit more of an interesting project for us. So how I found the deal. So if you've heard me talk about what I do at any of John Corey's events, or any time I'm in London at events, or listen to any of the other blog posts, you'll know that I'm very, very hot on working with agents. I absolutely love working with agents. I have a really good relationship with agents, and I do stress that part of the reason why we get past so many deals is because we work with agents. So I've got really good with the agent, I'll start again, put my teeth in. I've got a really good relationship with this particular agent. And as a result of that, I was able to negotiate the purchase price of 500,000 when this plot had been advertised for 900,000. Because he knows me, he knew it was going to be quick. It was purchased for cash, and I'll explain how he did that. And he knew it was going to be quick. So because of that, we was able to negotiate this deal. So how did I praise the deal? I am data, guys. Those of you who know me from a Betfair trading background know that for me, it's all in the data. I collect a lot of data before I pretty much do anything. So with this one, I have a spreadsheet because, again, I'm a techie and I love spreadsheets. And I went and I fill the spreadsheet in systematically. So I put what I'm putting on the site, and then I start to break it down into all my fees and what it's going to cost me and what it's worth and all those kind of things. So how do I find out what it's worth? So for me, one of the first things I do when I'm looking at a site is what can we get on it? And with this one, it was 10 houses, and that was already agreed. So I can get 10 houses on it. So then I need to work out my GDV of that. How do I work out my GDV? I look at comparables in that area. So what has been sold in that area? What was the standard of those houses? And the sizes and all those kind of things. And then I speak to 3 agents, and I know most of the agents well, and we build up a sort of figure which we think we will be able to achieve for these houses. I break that down into a price sort of per square foot, so I know how much people are paying per square foot in that area for that standard in which I'm going to take it to. So it's not rocket science, guys. It's just knowing your area, knowing some agents, and having a look on Rightmove on the sold prices, and then comparing and putting all that information together. So now I know my GDV, I've got to start working out what it's going to cost me to actually do it. So I know what my professional fees are going to be. So when I say professional fees, that's your legal fees, your surveys, all that kind of thing. So I speak to the people in my network about what we need. So what do we need survey-wise? How much is that going to cost us? And then I put in a contingency for that as well. So that goes onto my spreadsheet. Again, it's data. I speak to the architect and say, how much are you going to charge me to do this development for me? Do you want a planning consultant as well? Which sort of ties in with my professional fees. Most of the time, my professional fees, the architect tells me which surveys I'm going to need, which aren't already done, who to use for planning consultancy. If we're not using a planning consultant, can the architect do that bit? Yes. Okay. And then is that reflected in his fees? So the architect fees, they go on my sheet. Also, the planning fees, you have to pay to apply for planning permission. So find that out by going to the local government in which it's in, their planning website, and it will tell you. Selling fees as well. Selling fees, I've included the actual legal selling fees per plot, because you've got to pay a solicitor to sell each one of those off, but also the fees for selling and marketing the property. You've got to pay somebody to do that. I'm very lucky that I've got a fantastic network. I know I always talk about how great my network is, but it really is, guys. It really is a fantastic network. And one of the people in my network who I work closely with is a local agent who owns the franchise of that agency. So it's a estate agency. They have got a really good reputation in Lincoln for selling property. They have moved into acquiring land for developers like myself, but also selling off plan. And because of that, they are making a really big push to try and get sites like mine. So I was able to negotiate a really good deal. They're selling each plot off for a fixed fee of £500 plus VAT. And that includes all marketing, boards at the property, full, really nice brochures, etc. That goes onto my spreadsheet. So now I've got a lot of data. I've got the spec of the house, the size of the house, the area it's in, what it's going to look like, how much it's going to cost me to do everything but build it. So I then speak to the builder. I show him the spec in which I need, the size in which I'm going to need. He also will chip in with the surveys he wants to see. At this stage, we've already done a couple of surveys, so he knows what to factor in for costs. He's a very experienced builder as well. Sit down with him, explain what we need, and then he tells me how much it's going to cost, and we add some on for that. So again, another contingency which goes into the spreadsheet. So spreadsheet, guys, it's just a standard spreadsheet. It's nothing complicated, it's nothing difficult. You're just listing down in a logical order what you're doing. So what the development is, what you're putting on the development, the GDV of the development, what it's going to cost you to do that, build costs, finance costs, all of your costs, whether there's going to be 106s on there as well, which is where you have to pay money to the local government for infrastructure. And then it works out my profit. Really simple, guys. But data is key for me, and it's also key for my investors. and there's only one on this one JV partner. Challenges, like every development, guys, there is always going to be challenges. This one, there was a few challenges right from the get-go. So one of the challenges which we faced was on the actual plot of land that we were buying 2 plots at the back of an existing commercial office, and they owned all of the land on the 2 sites. But at the front of one of the pieces that we were purchasing, they'd sold that off separately to a local developer. Now, we had access over that land, but the wording of that access was a little bit fluffy, a little bit cloudy. So it took some time for our solicitors to pick apart that access. It looked like at one point we wasn't allowed commercial vehicles over it. So it looked like we were going to be buying a plot of land where we could get the materials to the front of the land but not onto site. So that was one of the challenges. We had to sit down and go through that with the solicitors, and they had to speak to the other side, and we sorted that out. That was sorted out by a wording and an agreement. So we are actually allowed over the land, their land. But then that also threw up the Section 38 agreement. So a Section 38 agreement is when you enter an agreement with the local authority, highways department, that you're going to pay a substantial sum of money and there's going to be a bond, and you build the road to the highways standard, the Section 38 adoption standard, and then when it is adopted after the period of the bond, they will adopt that road and they'll take your money. That then means that it's an adopted highway, so that you aren't responsible for that road. Now, in Lincoln and Lincolnshire at the minute, the councils are really not happy adopting roads. So the developer at the front developed 3, and he built the road to adoptable standard. Now, he couldn't get that road adopted. And one of the reasons is that the councils don't like to adopt when it's 5 or below. Obviously, he built 3 houses. So we decided to try and get our road adopted, and then also get the other 3 roads included in that as well. So there'd be 13 houses, not 3 roads, sorry, the 3 houses at the front adopted as well, their road. But it looked like at one point that the developer had kept one of the houses, which he did. His sister lived in the house, as we found out later. Our solicitor was slightly panicked that it was going to be a ransom strip. What I'm going to do now is show you the actual potential ransom strip, and then explain what we did to get around that and how it all happened. So I'm going to come over here into Land Insight, which is, again, I'm a huge techie geek, and as you'll know now, and I use Land Insight. So this is one of the plots here in which we purchased. This was the other one. As you can see, we have our own access there. But these are the 3 houses, and they all owned part of the road. Now, it looked like the road was coming down to here, and it looked like this square here was potentially a ransom strip. The developer owned this house, which his sister lived in. Our solicitor wasn't 100% sure or confident that we would be able to get that house to adopt the road and come into the adoption agreement with us. So we went to see the solicitor, and they said, look, just leave it with us. We're going to do some more digging, and at one point we're going to have to speak to the developer. So we came back, and they also wasn't sure on the length of this road down to this little T here, whether the developer had put the road from the actual main road down to this T. They thought he might have come to this line here, and then this was going to cost us a few pounds, a lot more than a few pounds. So me and Kim jumped from the solicitors to the agents to borrow a measuring wheel, and out to site measured it, and it was perfectly fine. Everything was okay. So we actually just rang the developer up. We didn't know him, but we rang him up and we explained what was happening. And it turned out he was an absolute incredible bloke. If he's listening to this, he knows who he is, and he has been incredible. And I'm really, really looking forward to taking you out for dinner and beers on me and Kim. And he said, look, the council aren't adopting roads, guys. the way I do it is to create a management company and then give part of the road to each house, and then they all own a share in the management company, and he will come into that management company for his sister's house. Incredible. Really nice guy, and it actually gave us the confidence then to move forward and be able to do that. So that was one of the main challenges. Our solicitor then came back to us with another challenge and said that they really think that we should buy this conditionally. This was after probably about 2 months, because they believed that Highways could come back to us and state that they didn't want 10 houses on the development because of backland development and also the entrance and the adoptable road. We went back to the solicitor and said, look, we're not going to adopt the road, we're going to do the management company, which they were sort of okay with, but they were still advising us to speak to Highways and do this on a conditional basis. Now, I knew that if we were to do this on a conditional basis, we would lose this deal and potentially lose a lot of money. So again, guys, I absolutely love data. I love data, and it just helps you make decisions. So on the Saturday, the day after this, and they were floating with the idea of doing this conditionally, and if Kim's honest, so was he. I sat and read every single word of the 85 pages of planning minutes from the decision of the outline planning. And I read it about 3 times, guys. So there was a lot of words to read, and I read it 3 times just so I could sink it in. And what I thought I'd found, I wanted to make sure I'd got it right. Highways had already accepted this development. So in the minutes for the planning minutes, Highways had stated that they were happy for this development to go ahead as long as you stuck to the original plan. The original plan is the picture that was shown earlier in this video blog post. So we already had the drawings, and 10 dwellings were already agreed. And this kept coming up and recurring, that this was acceptable and 10 dwellings was acceptable and it's accepted. This was all in the planning minutes, guys. And it just goes to show that by going through that data and really, really reading it and understanding that helps you make a decision. If I'd have listened to my solicitor, which you should, at this stage, guys, I am not reckless. No money had been exchanged. We hadn't bought this plot of land. We'd only spent money on searches, etc., and a few pounds on surveys. So I completely think solicitors are incredible. But if I'd have listened to them, I would have lost this deal, because I would have gone conditionally and then I would have lost the deal. Now, if I'd have read those planning minutes and Highways hadn't have said what they'd said, then I would have taken my solicitor's advice. But because of what I found in planning in the minutes, it gave me the confidence to be able to execute this deal. And I went back to the solicitor and said, no, I'm quite happy to buy it unconditionally. And I also said that to Kim and explained why, and Kim completely then agreed with me and said yes, and now he calls me Sherlock for finding that information. So it just goes to show, guys, please read absolutely everything. What I do is I create I've got projects folder on Google Drive, and I create a folder for every project. So this was Sturton. I added all of the information from the planning portal personally, myself, from that, and I read it all. So you can add it all into your Google Drive and keep it there. You can read it then on your phone or your laptop or whatever, and you can just get all the information. It's good as well, guys, for you to read that information. Don't rely on anybody else to read it. You've got to read that information, and it can help you. Just like I did in this deal, it turned a challenge into a positive and kept this deal alive. And I pretty much dragged this through solicitors. I'm tenacious when I'm finding deals, and until that deal is signed over to me, I'm absolutely tenacious. And I will do absolutely everything I can to make sure that deal's a success and that gets through solicitors, and that only increases once it's gone through solicitors. I love deals and I love making them happen. So funding, guys, this is the one that probably you're all interested in. So we use the same JV partner that we did on the Georgian Dragon. We managed on the Georgian Dragon to give him all of his money back. There's about £300,000 worth of equity in that deal, and we are all equal shareholders in that. And there's £115,000 a year rent roll. So he was ridiculously happy with his investment and decided to invest in this deal as well. So we used some of the funds from the George and some JV partners funds, and we put down £200,000. So we needed another 300,000. We could have put the 200,000 down and used some finance from a commercial lender, which we did look at doing. But we have a fantastic private individual who actually loans us money, and he is an experienced developer himself. So we took this deal to him and said, look, we think it's worth nearly £1 million. We're buying it at £500,000. What would you loan us on that? And he said 300,000, and he liked the deal. Now, if he likes the deal, this was months before any of the solicitor's issues, and he knows all of the issues that you're going to face because, as I say, he's experienced. So he liked the deal a lot. That gave us even more confidence to push forward. And then when he said he'd put 300 on it, it meant we only needed to put 200 in. So all in for 500, and we are loaning from the private individual, but only until we get full planning. Then we're going to get development finance. That's going to take him out, and we will pay him his fees. The other beauty of using this private individual is it's very fast. He's got a lot of cash, so he matches his cash with your cash. He takes the first charge. It's bought in our name, and it's very, very quick. We used him for the Georgian Dragon as well, and we was able to complete that purchase in about 2.5 weeks. So that's how we funded it, guys. We're going to go on and get development finance. What I will do is I'm going to talk about the next steps now. So the next steps for us, I'll explain the development finance, which will probably come in part 2 of this blog series. So next steps for us, guys, we are now in consultation with the council, and our architect is doing the drawings as we speak, so we can get some of those restrictions taken off. So they've put restrictions on the land that can't be, basically someone can't live in there now in those houses until highways have signed to say that we have built the road in accordance with the plan that's already agreed. So that's one condition. There's a few more restrictions and conditions we've got to do. The architect's working on that. We're having the surveys done. As soon as we've gone in for full planning, and we've got planning, which we are going to get planning, it's already got the outline, it's just putting together the proposals for materials we're going to use and how we're going to stick to that road, etc., etc. That's when we're going to get development finance to take out our private individual who's loaning us the money. I will then do a follow-up video, guys, to show you the 3D drawings of the houses we're going to build, and also give you some more information on the development finance. So I really hope you found that interesting. I absolutely loved teaching you guys how I found that deal and all those kind of things. If you do want to invest with us, this is one of the main reasons why we do the blog. We give you the information. We want to bring you along with us so that you can invest in our deals as well. And it's mainly so you guys can learn. We've seen quite a lot of times that people want to invest, but they don't know where to start. So by investing in one of our deals, you get to learn and you get to start investing. And then you can learn along that process. So I'm going to steal the John Corey cone of learning, which has average retention rates. So it says that it starts at 5%, which is a lecture. So that's another reason why we want to bring you guys in as well, because Kim absolutely loves teaching you. And by teaching others, we retain 90% of the information. So if we're teaching you, if you come into one of our deals via simple equity, you're going to learn you're going to remember 75% of what we teach you, as opposed to 5% if we just lectured you on it or if you did a course on it. Plus, you're going to get, hopefully, a really good return on your money. So if you pay to do a course, you're going to retain 5% of it, and you're going to have lost that money. If you invest with us, you're going to get that money back, hopefully a really good return, and you're going to retain 75% of it. And you also get to work with a seasoned developer, which is good. And it's good for your CV as well, guys. I was in London on Tuesday, and I was talking to a young guy who started to deal source. And I started out deal sourcing, and I said to him that one of the biggest mistakes I made was not getting involved after the deal. I should have got involved after the deal and helped manage the refurb, all for free, and those kind of things, because that builds your developer CV up so that when you go to a bank to get development finance, you've got a really stellar CV. I'm lucky now that I've been involved in quite a few projects, so I've got that. So that's just why we do what we do, guys. If you don't want to invest with us, that's absolutely fine. No worries. We're not going to try and upsell you a course or anything like that. But I would just love it if you would tell me a topic to cover or something. Give me a question. Pop them in the comments below so that I can do more blogs on what you guys actually want to hear about. So I'm going to go now. I hope you enjoyed that. Keep your eyes out for our deals on Simple Equity. If you do want to know about them, on this website there is to the right of the screen there is a case study in which we did for the Georgian Dragon. If you pop your email in there, then that will get you on our list, so we will email you about those deals, and it'll also give you some information on previous deals that we've done. So until I do the next video, guys, I hope you have a fantastic time and you find some great deals. Cheers.